When was the last time you saw me on TV? See, that's not right. With the pandemic, bringing people into my home is kind of risky. But the stars in entertainment, moguls in media, icons in business, political brand names, and hot-stepping trendsetters are coming over. They're coming over for the tea with MisRed.
Now, one of the most important things I think as a generation that we need to learn is how to go beyond in terms of corporate Zimbabwe. I'm really excited to be sitting with Edith Jaricha, who is an amazing legal practitioner, but more so her story is very inspirational for other women who may want to pursue law. But more importantly, we're going to be touching on the Data Protection Act. If you don't already know about it, I want you to keep on watching because the tea is going to be brewing around that and so much more. So I'm really excited because I have so many questions around the law in Zimbabwe and how we can use it as recourse when we have issues. But Edith, I want us to start from the beginning because I'm excited when I see women who are doing well. And for me, I think as a legal practitioner, you're doing amazing. The fact that we can sit down and have these conversations, I think it's very important that we do so. So let's start from the beginning of Edith, and I know Jaricha is your name with your husband, but let's go back before the husband actually came into the picture.
Edith was a young girl once upon a time, ambitious, like most girls are, I believe. At some point, I actually wanted to be a doctor.
Really?
And thanks to my headmaster at the time, he said, no, I don't see a doctor in you, I see more of a lawyer. Had an argument about it at some point until I gave in to his advice, and this is who I became at the end of it. So I did my law school at 𝗪𝗪𝗥𝗏 𝘂𝐻𝑔, finished, graduated cum laude. And it was an interesting journey being in a different country. That's why I refer to the graduation, because there's always a point to prove when you are in a different country. And you would hope that's where it ends. But then you then come back to your country and you realize you consistently need to prove that point because you're female, you're young, you have a lot of things that other people would regard as disadvantages. And you want to prove that regardless of all of these things, I can still become what I want to be.
And I'm glad you mentioned the female aspect, because a lot of the time when we think of legal matters or law, it's male, it's predominantly male.
Yes.
So for me, I'm wondering, when you transitioned, coming back to Zimbabwe, was it difficult for you, or in as much as you're trying to prove a point, you just went in there?
I literally had someone assist me to get into the system. It was tough because beyond all these other things we're talking about, there's also the Zimbabwean situation. It's not easy to get a job. So I needed somewhere to start. And then there's the conversion process that you need to do when you're coming from
because it's different, South African law and Zimbabwean law.
So it becomes even more difficult to get a job if you haven't done the conversion process. So I got into a law firm, did my internship. A friend of mine helped me get in there. And that was one of the greatest lessons I ever got, that when you're in a better position, it's always good to give a hand to someone who's lower than you, or who could, really use that hand. So this guy was working at the firm and he said, I believe in what you can do. We had learned together. And he said, I'm going to speak to my boss so that they can assist you to get a job. I got my internship and then moved to another firm, did my conversions, and
but it's interesting that it was a male who gave you that hand up.
Very interesting.
Do you think that for women, especially in Zimbabwe, do we have a problem giving each other hands up because we're already fighting to get to the top?
Sometimes there's that challenge, realistically speaking. When we're doing presentations and stuff, we love to say, no, as women, we help each other. Or but on the ground, that's not the case. It's very rare to find a woman who's willing to support another woman. It's usually the men who support the women. And that has its own connotations attached to it because people will have a way of interpreting it. But it was actually a guy who helped me out. And it's been guys helping me out most of the time, surprisingly enough. Few women here and there, who cannot go without recognition, but mainly men are willing to support women and men to go up the ladder.
So that's a very strong point that I think we must carry on and say, you know what, ladies, ngatsangotaura, but let's actually do the action, right? So I'm glad that you're here, because I think also you're kind of helping me develop my knowledge around aspects of law. So in as much as you were in other legal firms, you actually are a managing partner for your own firm, right? That's Jaricha and what is it? Partners Legal Practitioners.
Yes,
right?
JPLP. To make it easier.
Yes. Can you say it again? I wanted to say slowly because it sounds so cool kids like.
JPLP.
All right. All right. If you need a lawyer, call JPLP. You know, this is not an advert. But let's talk about that. Starting your own firm in these difficult conditions.
It was more of looking for a new challenge. There's a picture that I always look at whenever I'm faced with a situation or when I'm feeling a bit down. It's a graduation picture of mine that I got when I just finished college, and under it I put this quotation that I really liked at the time. It said, "I woke up this morning and realized I don't have what it takes to be ordinary." So then it was, now I realize how strong it is, because then it was just a nice quote. You know, I was graduating, I was excited. So
sounded nice.
It sounded nice. Yeah. But I've consistently looked at it during my journey whenever I feel like giving up or when I feel like things are not really going the way I want. I look at it and it gives me the edge to carry on. So starting a new law firm was at a time when I felt stagnant in my career. I don't like feeling stagnant. I don't like doing the same thing over and over again. So I'd say to myself, I need a new challenge. I need something else to excite me. And then advice came, you know, different opportunities. And I finally settled for, you know, setting up something that is mine and something that I can create my identity with.
So I like that you actually say that, because there's obviously Edith, the individual, and then there is Edith, the wife.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that balance. Like, you're married, do you have a family? What's Edith behind the work?
Edith is a whole group of people behind her. So I have a family. I come from a family of 3. And thankfully both my parents are still alive, so and I'm married. I recently became a mom.
Hello.
Yes.
You look like you look like you haven't even had anything happen to you. You know what I'm saying?
No, there's a son behind it. So yeah, that's part of, you know, the complex individual that I have become, and the different caps that I need to wear at different times, because, you know, at work I can't be a mom, I can't be a wife, but at the same time at home I can't be a lawyer. You know, I need to be wifely and motherly to my child and to my husband. So yes, that's more or less a bit about my private life. Yeah.
So let's talk about this act. It was gazetted on the 3rd of December 2021.
Yes.
What does it actually mean for Zimbabweans?
In simple terms, it's regulating a space where people interact a lot. In every space where you have more than one person, it's important to start regulating it. That's why we have all these laws. Do not do this to that person. If you do it, there's a consequence, because you can't just allow people to do whatever they want, however they want. And especially with social media, like you've mentioned, I think there is a tendency when you're not seeing each other face to face to forget.
No, but you're in deeper location.
Yeah.
You're trolling me, but in deeper location.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So there's that tendency to forget that you're dealing with another human being. And whatever you're saying or doing can potentially harm another human being. And that's the background behind the Data Protection Act. When it relates to cybersecurity, there's another side of it which relates to data protection itself. The information you give out to institutions, what are they doing with it? How well is it protected? How much of it can be disclosed to a third party without your consent? So there are those two aspects to it, and I think it's a very important statute that we need.
It is. And, you know, young people, they're just trolling each other. They're saying all sorts of things. And it seems like people don't know that there's a recourse when someone does something which is illegal according to the Data Protection Act. So, all right, let's say I have evidence that someone is clearly cyberbullying me, right? Obviously, your social media platforms have their own things that they do online. But in Zimbabwe, I have, for a fact, I know that someone is maybe distributing nude pictures of me, right? Illegally. What can I do as a form of recourse if someone does that to me?
First of all, I want to say the Data Protection Act has given us in clear terms what is not acceptable, something that we didn't have before. So I would encourage people who use social media a lot to just browse through it. It has a lot of legal terms, but there are certain basic things that you'd be able to understand. So the example that you gave, someone circulating your nude pictures online, that's one of the things that has been criminalized in the Data Protection Act. And once something has been criminalized, it means you can go to the police and make a report to say, this person is doing this to me, and they can be arrested for it. And the jail terms that are in there range from 5 to 15 years. That's a long time, for doing something that you think is a joke, and yet it's actually harming someone. So that is one of the recourses. Another one is if you want to proceed in terms of the civil laws, you can sue someone if it then amounts to defamation. So where someone is spreading information about you that is misleading or that is not necessarily true, it's criminal, but you can also sue for damages, for defamation, to say you've trolled my character, you've made me look like a bad person when I'm actually not, you've created an image about me that is not true. Yes, so there are those two recourses, and an individual can do either or both at the same time.
I like that you simplify it, because a lot of the times when there's legal terminology, we can get lost in it. So, okay, so I've had this situation happen to me. Someone is circulating. So the first thing I do is just go to any police station, and what do I take with me?
You take whatever information you have. They will assist. That's always the easiest way, because I think so many people are lost in trying to gather up the evidence, and yet they're not sure what they're actually trying to prove or what evidence is needed. So when you realize that there has been a breach on one of my human rights, or someone is harming me, or threatening to harm me, because some can actually send threats, and even comments, inbox, someone will be telling you, I'm going to hit you, I'm going to do this to you. You can take that, whatever you have, you go to the police and you say, look, this is what this person is doing to me. What can I do? If they need any more information from you, they'll give you guidance and say, bring 1, 2, 3, 4 things, or give us a background to this, and then we'll take it from there. If you're taking the civil route as well, you just go to your lawyer and say, this is the information I have, this is the evidence I have. They will assist you to say, this is how we retrieve it, this is how we gather it up, and does it actually meet the requirements for damages claim?
Do you know, I'm so in awe, because I didn't realize that there's so much information around this. And, you know, with the generation that we have right now, there's so much information being put here and there, wrong information, fake news, all of these things happening. And I'm just so grateful that you can actually share some of the ways we can actually just, you know, figure this whole thing out, right? So I think we must actually add something to this conversation. CDC. That's how I'm putting it across. So it's creating, distribution, and collection.
Yes.
3 parts of this whole situation around the Data Protection Act. So you can get into trouble for collecting, distributing, and creating.
Yes. Any involvement in the whole illegal situation can get you into trouble. So it's not okay to share something that is pornographic, for example, and say, no, but I'm not the one who took the video. The fact that you're sharing it and you're basically allowing more people to have access to it.
You're part of the problem.
Yes, you're part of the problem.
And talk
Yeah.
like
We can come up
put that in there. So in terms of Van who actually reporting this, are people actually reporting, or are they reluctant? What's going on? Because I haven't seen a lot of stories. In South Africa, Bonang actually took someone to court and she won. I've heard a lot of different situations, but in Zimbabwe, I'm not hearing much.
You know, the act is still new. So with every new thing, there's a lot of reluctance and sometimes resistance even. So we haven't reached a point when there are that many reports around the Data Protection Act and any breaches or violations to it. I think it's a matter of time. If we give it more time, and if we have more people doing it and succeeding, then
It sets precedence.
Yes, then it sets precedence, and the person watching in the background will say, okay, so I can actually put an end to the abuse that I'm facing online. So it's more of it being new and people not really knowing the procedure as well. What do I do then? Because you're on your phone, maybe you're on Facebook, and someone says something, and you're stuck there thinking, okay, so what do I do? I'm on Facebook. Do I respond to them, or do I take it elsewhere? So it's all of those issues involved, but with time I'm sure people will start making more reports here.
But ngatimbotaura kanye ma-socialites kuti haisi vanhu vari panzara here, because a lot of these people actually make their money off the drama that they have online. So Panidwa say, is it not a double-edged sword? Even with the freedom of expression, does it not clash somewhere somehow?
Well, regarding socialites making money out of this, there are people making money out of drugs. That doesn't mean it's legal, and that doesn't mean we should allow it. There are people making money out of child pornography. It doesn't make it legal, and it doesn't mean we should allow it. So it's important for us to have these regulations so that we can actually regulate how people interact, even in cyberspaces. The drama may be fun, but sometimes it actually hurts real people in their real life. Saying things about someone that's not true, or sending threats to someone, or inciting violence against an individual or a group of people is not legal. If you do it practically, it can't be condoned, and we can't condone it in cyberspaces as well, even on social media. So the fact that someone is making money out of it is not a relevant factor that we should look at and say, no, but let's just allow it a little bit more because someone is making a living out of it. Let's make a living out of things that are legal and things that help other individuals, not making a living out of hurting other people.
Edith, I know you had a cool way of actually saying your firm. You said it's she?
𝗪𝗑𝗪𝗪𝗪.
𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪. It sounds so cool. Thank you so much for making time.
Thank you.
And I just hope that you continue with whatever you're doing in your life.
Thank you.
I'm so proud to sit here and just be in awe of an amazing woman that you are.
Thank you so much.
So I wanna talk about other things like off. So let's just have some tea,
Okay.
and then we can discuss my legal aspects away from the cameras.
Yes.